I needed to go be alone in a dark place. Welcome back to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for tuning back in. If you're new here today, welcome. My name is Olivia. I'm autistic, and here on my channel I talk about all things autism, usually relating to being an adult or female on the autism spectrum. So if that sounds like content that you'd like, I would super appreciate a like and subscribe below. Today's video is all about what it was like to get diagnosed with autism as an adult from my personal experience. More and more people are being diagnosed with autism. Go check out my latest video last week for why more and more people are getting diagnosed with autism, if you're curious. But so more and more people are getting diagnosed with autism, and especially more and more adults are getting diagnosed with autism. So I have done in the past a video, it was one of my first videos, I believe, about what it was, like how I went about getting diagnosed with autism and kind of my diagnosis story. So if you want to check out that video, I'll link that up above as well. This video isn't like going to be a repeat of that in the sense of I'm not going to go into detail about how exactly I went about getting diagnosed, but I'm just going to share about what it felt like and what my life has been like since getting diagnosed. It's been like 3.5 years, a little over 3.5 years, no, maybe like 3.5 years exactly since I was diagnosed. And so yeah, I just thought I would do this video because I think it's a popular topic. And so yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the best way to describe that day that I got diagnosed was that it was the best day of my life. And I know that sounds dramatic, and I know when I've told non-autistic people, like my family and friends, that a lot of them didn't understand. They're like, how could that be the best moment of your life? I mean, a lot of them were like apologetic, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I just got diagnosed with some terminal illness, because they don't understand autism and they think it's a bad thing, which is a very stereotypical and misconception thought of autism. But it was the best day of my life because it was just, one, it was an answer to my prayers. I had prayed pretty much my entire life since I can remember and would ask God, why did you make me like this? Because I always knew I wasn't normal, quote unquote. I always seemed different, and I just was very, very, very curious on why that was, and I like need answers in my life. And so getting that answer was just the answer literally to my prayers, and it just took a huge burden off of my shoulders to finally understand why my brain worked the way it did. And it was a huge burden lifted off my mom's shoulders, and I'm sure a lot of people around me, like family members, who were kind of not understanding why I did things a certain way as well. So it was just an overall amazing day, and a day that is very special for me and one that I'm so thankful for. Going through life undiagnosed is like going through life with a blindfold on. It's like you have no idea what's happening, what's going on in your brain. You're just blinded to what you're really going through. And so being diagnosed and finally getting that answer like rips that blindfold off, and everything finally makes sense in your life. Your life history and all the things that you went through and all the things that you've done in your life finally makes sense. That diagnosis, that autism was the missing puzzle piece of my life, hence why I really like the puzzle piece logo personally. And it finally made my life understandable and something that I could look back on and go, oh wow, it's because I was autistic that I did this or that. And everybody says hindsight's 20/20, and it totally is, but for when I think an adult get diagnosed with autism, it's like really like even better than 20/20. It's just like, wow, everything snaps into place, and suddenly your whole life becomes crystal clear. Getting that diagnosis finally made it doable to navigate life. And really, since getting that diagnosis, my life has become tremendously easier and better in so many ways. And I know some people don't experience that when they get diagnosed. And I'm not saying that I haven't been sad and depressed and anxious at times and that I haven't had downs. Of course I have. I'm still, living life. I'm not all of a sudden like living some perfect life. Of course not. But it's just made it tremendously easier in so many ways. Once getting diagnosed, it's like I finally had, a roadmap of how my brain works. And so I kind of started a path on self-discovery because obviously I was diagnosed with autism and I had researched autism for about a year and a half prior to my diagnosis. But, it's still a very relatively new topic for me, and it was something that I was excited to learn about because it became basically a special interest of mine. I know a lot of other adults who've been diagnosed say the same thing, and it was fun getting able to find, I had the big answer of autism, but then finding, like little answers. It's like, oh, I did this because, my brain was shutting down or melting down or whatever. And so just like all these little things that just like finally made sense because I now understood how my brain worked, why I did things. I was able to avoid things that made my life more difficult due to my autism. So, for instance, I could avoid my triggers on what caused me to have meltdowns, which is like being overwhelmed, so I was able to get tools to be able to better handle situations. And even just knowing that what was happening to me in situations, like if I was to encounter triggers, was that I was going into an autistic meltdown, made things easier. Because before, I knew I was autistic and I would get into like a meltdown state, I didn't know what was going on, and so I would get extra angry because I'm like, why am I like having a fit and like crying my eyes out as a full-grown adult over something seemingly very minute? And so it was frustrating. Knowing has allowed me to show myself more grace, be kinder to myself, not beat myself up so much, because I was constantly beating myself up for doing autistic things that I thought like I shouldn't be doing as a grown adult. I often felt really guilty about, having meltdowns and all the other things that come with autism, such as not wanting to be social. And so I felt really guilty because I would always have to lie to people on why I didn't want to be social, because I didn't understand why I didn't want to be social. It's like I knew I could be social and I knew I liked these people and I enjoy spending time with them. So why couldn't I get myself out of bed and drive to a restaurant to go be social with them? Well, the reason is because autism. And so, now knowing that it's autism, I lie much less. I did a video about like I was a big fat liar, which I'll link up above if you want to watch that. It's kind of funny. Just going through life having to like constantly lie because I didn't understand what was going on with me. And so again, getting that diagnosis allowed me to start telling more truths and just being honest and not being embarrassed to be honest, because it's like before, if I didn't want to go out somewhere, I felt embarrassed to say like, well, I just like, I don't know, I'm very anxious to like get up and go to the restaurant. Whereas now I can be like, hey, like I'm really feeling, like tapped out for the day. My brain's kind of done and I'm too tired. My brain's gone through too much. I don't have enough spoons left, if you do the spoon theory, to get in my car and go out. And so I don't feel bad about being honest, and my friends don't feel bad, because I often felt like if I were to say like, I just really don't want to go, I don't know why, but I just really don't want to go, that they would get offended or get their feelings hurt, because it's like, well, do you not like us? Did we do something wrong? And then it's like, there's a bigger conversation or a fight ensues or something. So it was just easier to lie. But now I don't have to lie and everybody understands and no feelings get hurt, and it's just, again, just so much easier. Easier is the recurring theme of this video and what I've experienced since getting diagnosed. Getting diagnosed finally allowed me to not feel broken and like there was something wrong with me, because I always said like, oh, my brain doesn't work right, kind of joking, but like dead serious also. And the doctor who diagnosed me, I said, at the end of it, I said, thank you for telling me why my brain doesn't work right. And he said, your brain doesn't not work right. Your brain just works differently. And you know, that was such a freeing moment because it made me realize like, yeah, there's not something wrong with me. I'm just different and that's okay. And just having that mindset of finally not like feeling ashamed or embarrassed of yourself is so freeing. And you know, it just was a domino effect of good things getting this diagnosis. You know, it's like finally I stopped beating myself up so I could be kinder to myself, and because I was kinder to myself, then I wasn't as depressed and like feeling bad about myself. And then because I wasn't feeling bad about myself, I could go do more things, you know, in a way that was okay for my brain and not feel guilty about that. And you know, it just really was this domino effect of good things, and it's something that I'm so thankful for and hope that all the people who are struggling right now because they don't know they're autistic find. Since finding out, I've been able to have better relationships with, you know, not only like friends, but my family, my parents, my sister, my fiance, Alex, you know, because now not only do I know and like I understand myself, but they now know and can understand me. So, you know, I was a terrible big sister my whole life. I mean, I'm still not the greatest, but I'm a lot better. I also do a video about this. I'm just like plugging all my videos today. Sorry, but it's like I'm bringing them up, so I wanted to let you know in case you're wondering about that topic further. But you know, now my sister can understand like, hey, she wasn't like doing things where I was avoiding her on purpose. It's like I just couldn't handle being around her because I was out of energy for the day. And so it's not, she went through life thinking that I like hated her, and it's not that I hated her, of course. It's just that I couldn't handle, you know, coming home from school after being so mentally exhausted from masking and stuff. I then couldn't like handle having to like try to play with her. Like I needed to go be alone in a dark place and you know, re-energize myself and give my brain a break. So you know, also with my parents, especially my mom, I've never been able to like really express my feelings, you know, say I love you, like hug. I don't like being touched. And so just her now knowing, you know, I wasn't not saying I love you or not wanting to hug her because like I didn't like her or there was a problem. It's just how I am. And it's not that I don't wish I could hug her, and it's not that I don't love her so much. It's just I have a hard time showing it. And again, kind of going back to getting a tool like kit of things that can help me in life now. It's like now she understands and I understand that I can express myself via, you know, writing. And so I can text her or write her a note or a card or something and let her know how I feel and how thankful and how much I love her and stuff. And so maybe I'm not literally verbally doing it, but I can still get my point across a different way, and that's okay. And, you know, autism is at its base, you know, a developmental disability, and often it's hard for us to express ourselves. And so just knowing that there's different ways to do it, and again, not beating myself up because I couldn't get the words out, you know, I love you or whatever, and just knowing it's okay to just write in a note and pass it to her instead. I kind of already touched on this, but knowing also has allowed me to have less meltdowns and less anxiety, because again, I know my triggers on what caused me anxiety and what caused me to eventually have meltdowns, and I can avoid them. And if I can't avoid them, I again have tools to help me get through it, whether it's wearing earplugs, sunglasses, because I'm so highly sensitive to stimuli. Also knowing that I don't have to mask all the time and being able to demask, and that takes, you know, so much less energy out of your already tired brain. So that's allowed me to be less exhausted and less tired, which allows me to do more things for myself and with people that I love. So again, just this domino effect of good things that I've been able to do since getting diagnosed. I was also able to obviously now get the right, you know, therapies and stuff, because even though I was going to talk therapy and my therapist was very helpful, it still wasn't entirely helpful because we still didn't know that I was autistic. And so certain things and certain advice and tools that she would give me didn't quite work for me, and it would frustrate me because I'm like, well, if it's working for other depressed and anxious people, why is it not working for me? Well, it's not working for me because I'm not just depressed and anxious, I'm autistic. Again, I already kind of touched on this, but it gave my family and friends, but especially my family, closure. like I was saying, with my sister and my mom and like my grandparents on my mom's side. I come from a very, very large family. There's a lot of people, and so I never enjoyed going over to like my grandparents' house or one of my aunts and uncles' house with all my cousins running around because it was so overwhelming for me. As I got older and was a teenager, you know, I stopped hanging around this side of the family because it was too much for me, and one that made me feel guilty and one that made them feel bad because they didn't understand. And now they have closure knowing that it wasn't anything they were doing. It's again just how my brain works, and I'm uncomfortable in those situations. It has nothing to do with them. And so now they know that, you know, let's get together one-on-one in smaller groups, and you know, we've just both been able to make adjustments. You know, I now go and attend some of those big family gatherings again, but I know that I can only stay for an hour or two, and that's okay. I don't feel guilty about trying to like sneak out after only an hour. You know, I say, hey, like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. You know, I'm kind of at my end. My brain's kind of done for the day, and they understand, I understand, and everybody's happy. I think the best thing that came out of getting diagnosed is probably me not being so hard on myself, because, you know, I would constantly beat myself up for having meltdowns, for getting burnt out and not being able to go to work, things like that. And so just getting this answer has allowed me to tell myself, like, it's okay. You know, it's not that you're a lazy person or you're a bratty person. You're not doing this on purpose. That's just how your brain works, and that's okay. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you have an awesome week, and I will see you next week.